another edition of the Courtroom of Public Opinion. My name is John Singletary, and today we will be talking about transparency. Transparency in government. We want you to be involved with the political process, whether it's in your municipality, state, or in the country. First thing we have to do is we have to make sure that we vote. In order to vote, we have to be registered. We have to show up at the polls, pull the lever. Now, in terms of transparency, oftentimes, if we follow the money in the political process, then we'll actually know what the candidates believe in, and we can vote intelligently rather than only listening to what they say. Here's an example. In North Charleston, South Carolina, where I live, oftentimes, and just recently, the mayor gets on and he says that he's done so much for the city over the last 20 years. But yet, when we take a look at the labor force for the city, what we find is that whether it's the police department, fire department, even though we are the predominant ethnic group, we get less than 20-25% of the employment. We're close to 50% of the population. And so, tell me, how can he have done so much for the community when the community at large is African American, and yet we get fewer jobs than anyone? Now, there are federal funds that they receive for the police force, for the fire department, and other departments that there are no blacks in. We have the ability to request from those granting agencies an investigation based on the fact that they are simply not adhering to the requirements of the contract dealing with diversity and discrimination. That would set off a federal investigation for that segment. Now, there are a couple segments in which we do have more people employed with the city. Sanitation. Sanitation, we have more African Americans than anything. So if they can do it there, why can't they do it other places? And why can't they even it out based on proportional assignment? If you're 50% of the population, give you 50% of the jobs. If you're 30%, give you 30%. The statement is being made that you're good enough to pick up trash, and that is it. What a statement to make in action for being 20 years in office. Now, the other thing that we need to do is we need to understand what the Freedom of Information Act says that we can and cannot receive. We can literally go into meetings, we can record meetings, because that's simply the South Carolina federal law when it comes to Freedom of Information Act. And I think they listed under the Sunshine Law. We can receive emails that have transpired back and forth. We have to understand what information we can receive and how we can then receive it. This allows us to shine a light on government. For instance, if we want to take a look at the spending report, what goes on with the money for South Carolina, then we go to www.cg.sc.gov/fiscal transparency. That allows you to see the spending for the state. If we want to for North Charleston, then we go to the North Charleston website, which is www.northcharleston.org. If your city does not have a website, then you can go to the state website and it'll be there. When we take a closer look at the transparency report for North Charleston, then one of the things that we actually see is that, for instance, CIDRS. CIDRS is an organization in which, if we take a closer look at it, it is the old Noisette employees over at CIDRS, and they're getting to the tune of $25,000 every single month under special projects. For what? We would like to know. It appears that when the city wants to hide something from the public, then what they simply do is they put it under the term special projects. That way, they have to give no explanation. Special projects like Bonds Avenue LLC. The people in Murray Hill I want you to wake up. I want you to take a look at what's going on around you. There's a Bonds Avenue LLC that is on Bonds Avenue. It appears that they had some problems with getting tenants, had some lawsuits and those kinds of things. And the city then stepped in and started giving them $1,750 every single month. I've gone by there several times, and for the life of me, I just cannot see what the city is doing there. All the doors are closed. There's nothing that says North Charleston there, but yet we give them $1,750 every month, and he tells us that he's done a whole lot for the city. Paying people in your neighborhood, not you, but other people in your neighborhood, money that should be going to the community. We just recently saw where $37,000 was spent by the city of North Charleston under the mayor's direction to his son's property. $37,000 for property owned by Elliott Summey in North Charleston, and we're given the lame excuse, well, we didn't know. Whether you knew or not, it happened, and then after it happened, whoever was the person that ordered it, ordered the product, scheduled the workers to be there, that person should be held accountable to the public. The $37,000 plus the money that was spent on labor by the employees being there, all of that should go back to the city. And then there should be some repercussions for the person who did it. Otherwise, it'll happen again. And this time, it'll probably happen under special projects. Because remember, that is the dark closet that things go in when they do not want the public to know. It's unfortunate that we have to go to the point of having every citizen interested in getting on, taking a look at the transparency spending reports. In North Charleston, you go to the website, which is www.northcharleston.org, then you go to government, and then you go down to finance, and then you go to the transparency spending reports. Once you get there, you can take a look at every single expenditure that's been done by the city. Pay particular attention to the special projects, because the special projects, again, is the dark closet where they hide things, sort of sweep it under the rug, if you will. Most recently, in taking a look at that spending report, one of the things that I noticed was that every month, every single month, there is a white church that is allowed to have their expenses, the utilities are paid by the city. Now, as far back as I could look, I could not see where, even on one occasion, that happened to an African American church, where they paid the utilities for the African American church. And we're in a predominantly African American city, with a white mayor who says that, hey, over the last 20 years I've done so much for you. When it's time on the $100 million budget, when it's time to get contracts, even though he goes to the black churches, he has breakfast with the black mayors, he does not pay their utilities, but he'll appeal to the congregation to vote for him. But then when it's time to come and give contracts out, he seems to forget how to get to those black churches. We've got roughly a $100 million budget, 100,000 people, so we're getting $1,000 per person. And so now we're taking a look at the fact that when they're in the African American community with police force and everything else, what they do is they garnish additional taxes, if you will, out of the black community by station policemen in North Charleston between 26 and 526, and all they do is round robin give tickets. Court enforcement goes into the African American communities. If you've ever been down to the court enforcement court, you will be astonished. It's just us that's in there. And as a result, it's an additional tax. These types of things we must address in our community. We must vote more intelligently by taking a look at the finances. Forget what comes out of their mouth. When we talk with them, when we have the debates we must force them to deal with proportional assignment. Proportional assignment is simply when they're in office, based on our population, we want those benefits. Not just in number, but also in the amount of the money given in the labor pool. We want proportional assignment when it comes to the contracts on the municipal level, on the state level, and on the federal level. It makes no sense for us to continually be in a society where it is always on our backs that everything is built. We simply get peanuts. And then after a while, we find ourselves to be nomads, like what happened in Charleston, downtown Charleston, South Carolina, where the blacks were literally pushed out. Most of them pushed out into North Charleston. And now we are the majority here, and so we need to take advantage of it. Otherwise, we'll be pushed out again. This has been another edition of the Courtroom of Public Opinion. Make sure you sign on to www.jfrinc.org and join. We want you to, on this channel, make sure you subscribe to it, and we'll be bringing you additional information on voting, transparency, and the things that we need to do to vote more intelligently. Thank you.